Hello and welcome to the Blitz, your weekly Lorain County High School football show brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorain. As always, I am your host, Marissa McNeese from the Chronicle Telegram and WEOL, joined by my partner behind the camera, Kristen Bauer, and the Blitz back on the road again this week. I think till it gets too cold for me to stand out here for a period of time, we're going to be on the road. This week here at Midview High School, the Middies making some headlines this week and another big game coming up this Friday. We got a lot to talk about. We're through week 5, which, if you can believe it, the halfway point of the regular season. It's flying by. Plenty to talk about. As we have the past few weeks, we got to start with a COVID update, but it's a little more positive than it has been. Just 8 games canceled around the state this week. If you picked up your copy of the Chronicle Telegram on Saturday, you saw that list right there at the bottom of the scores from around the state. And that's a far cry from when it was 40 a few weeks ago. Once again, no Lorain County teams had their games canceled. Everybody played, which is good news. Hopefully this is the trend we continue to see. But just because your game wasn't canceled doesn't mean COVID still isn't having an impact on a lot of these teams. I've covered quite a few teams this season, and all have mentioned just because their games aren't getting canceled, they're still being impacted by quarantines. A lot of players going through that this season. So we're seeing teams have to adjust a lot week to week. Game plans have to change depending on personnel. But at the end of the day, just 8 games canceled across the state this week and none in Lorain County. So we're trending in a positive direction, and let's hope we can keep that going so we can finish this football season as we did last year, as safely and healthy as possible. Getting into our week 5 recap this week, I'm going to start with an upset. I have to. It was a huge game, a big headline, but it was Berea Midpark beating number 3 in Division II, Avon Lake, 23-17. A huge win for Berea Midpark, and obviously a tough one for Avon Lake after coming off that huge win over Avon just a week before. They lose at home, and in some of the post-game comments from players, they were pretty honest and said, look, we came out flat in the first half, and stepping it up in the second half just wasn't going to be enough against a good team like Berea Midpark. Maybe a little bit of an emotional hangover after that Avon win, still riding that high and thinking, all right, we're just going to coast through this game. But as we all know in the SWC and in most conferences around here, you just can't take a day off. Berea Midpark is a great team, and they just a week before that had handed another Lorain County team their first loss of the season when they beat Elyria. So this is a team that can win games, and Coach Kostelnik said after the game, too, I caught up with him on the Saturday morning sports wrap-up show on WEOL, and he said, us starting flat in the first half, that's on me. I have to get our team better prepared. It doesn't matter if we come out strong in the second half and try to dig ourselves out of that hole. No, I have to get us prepared for a full 4 quarters, and that's on me. He said they're going to, of course, hit the film, get back to it. They're going to reevaluate. They'll come out strong. They've got a tough second half of the SWC ahead this rest of the regular season, but a little bit of a wake-up call for Avon Lake. They were number 3, like I said, in the latest AP poll this week. But Berea Midpark coming into Avon Lake, beating the Shoremen at 23-17. A big win, like I said, for them, and it's going to take some readjusting now for Avon Lake to continue on the second half of the season, obviously knowing there's no more coasting. We can't start any more of these games flat. There's a tough schedule ahead. So I think we're going to see this Avon Lake team come back angry. They're not going to want to lose again. We've seen that with some other teams around the area this season. You lose a game, especially a really good team like Avon Lake, they're not going to want to lose again. So I think we're going to see them playing really tough physical football like we know they can the rest of this season. With Avon Lake's loss to Berea Midpark this week, that leaves just one undefeated team left in Lorain County at 5-0 is the Columbia Raiders. They beat Brookside 42-6, continuing to dominate on both sides of the ball. This is an offense that is averaging over 40 points a game and a defense that's allowing 6 or 7. Again, I talked about this last week. Math is hard, but those are pretty close to the numbers. And it's 12 points they allowed last week to Black River is the most they've allowed all season against a Black River team that turned around and scored almost 50 points against Clearview this week. So this is a really solid football team, but a tough way to go the rest of the season. They still have to play Keystone, Firelands, even Wellington, a much improved Wellington team. It's a good Lorain County league. The second half of the season isn't going to be easy for Columbia, but they have a healthy Andrew Champagne at quarterback, which they have not had in many seasons. A star in running back, Marco Sirigliano, just a sophomore, but I think he's rushing 200-300 yards the past few games, sometimes just in the first half. This is a team I think all eyes in the Lorain County League are on. I've said this before, I think it was Keystone going into this season. It still might be. Keystone's still a great team, but Columbia really playing incredible football. They're dominating each week, making headlines, putting up huge numbers. So it's their conference to lose. Like I said, a tough schedule ahead, but at this point, the Lorain County League looks to be in Columbia's hands if they can maintain this pace the rest of the way. I'm going to stay in the Lorain County League for this one, and a team I just mentioned, but I was on hand for this game. It was really exciting, and my first non-running clock game of the season, so I have to talk about it. But it was Keystone beating Wellington 21-3, a really, really just a great high school football game, fun to watch. A defensive battle the first half and really into the fourth quarter. It was a game. Wellington came out their second possession of the game. They kick a field goal. I think it was a 32-yarder, and it was 3-0. All the way until midway through the fourth quarter, I thought the final score was going to be 3-0. The way Wellington was playing on defense, they were figuring out ways to shut these athletes down on Keystone, and we know they've got a handful of all-state players on that offense. It's a really good team. They can score points, but they were struggling against Wellington. I mentioned this is a much improved Dukes team, and they showed that against Keystone. But late in the third quarter, I saw a football play that was certainly the most incredible I've seen this season. Really, really amazing. The Wildcats, late in the third quarter, facing 3rd and 31 deep in their own territory, needing a spark. And who other than Gideon Lampron? He gets the ball, charges up the middle of the field. I think he carried 3 or 4 Wellington defenders with him. He needed 31. He got 33. Keystone gets the first down, charges the rest of the way down the field and into the third quarter, scores finally when quarterback Connor Rodick floats a beautiful pass to the corner of the end zone to Ryan Shackelford. The Wildcats take a 7-3 lead and never look back. Gideon Lampron scored 2 more touchdowns. He finished with, I think, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. And it was a game where it wasn't the prettiest for Keystone. Coach Don Griswold said that after the game, but you could just tell if you guys, any of you folks at home were there watching, you saw it was just sheer force of will. Keystone was not going to lose that game. They were at home, and Gideon Lampron puts the team on his back. I talked to him after the game. I said, what did you adjust, really, at halftime? He said, no, I really didn't. I just wanted to win. I was not going to lose. And it showed. He put the team on his back. I think Coach Don Griswold said he's Superman. He opens that shirt and there's an S on his chest, and he showed that. It was all Gideon in that game. Of course, others contributing on that Keystone team. You don't have the kind of talent they have and not get contributions across the board. I mentioned Connor Rodick finding Ryan Shackelford for a really great touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone. A.J. Stroud picks off 2 right in the middle of the field. Coach Don Griswold said he hasn't even played football in a few years, but 2 great defensive plays. A good win for Keystone, who needed that win at home, playing against a team they felt like, that's a game they should win, and they almost let it get away. So an ugly win. And in order to make the playoff run they want to make, to not have that disappointing end to the season they had last year, they got to clean a lot up. They have to start off stronger on offense. They can't be shut out almost, halfway into the fourth quarter. There's still a little bit to clean up despite the win, but a really good high school football game with Keystone coming out on top against Wellington, 21-3. All right, we're going to move over to the GLC, where we have Elyria Catholic, who's been playing really good football this first half of the season. Continue that in week 5, but unfortunately losing in a heartbreaker, 21-20 to conference rival Rocky River. The Pirates kick a 47-yard field goal with no time left on the clock to pull out the win. A really tough loss for Elyria Catholic. Had been playing good football up until this point. They had to pull out some gritty wins the first few weeks of the season until they finally put it all together, dominate a really good Holy Name team, a lot of folks in the area thought was going to win the GLC, still could, but they dominate a really, really good team. And to host Rocky River, to let that one slip away, you can't be mad at a kid that kicks a 47-yarder. That's pretty impressive in high school, but still a tough one. Some heartbreak there at Elyria Catholic. I'm sure they'll get it turned around. They got a lot of good athletes. Levi Ellis playing really, really well this season on offense for the Panthers, as well as a number of players on defense. So they've got the pieces. They know they can do it. It'll just be another back to the drawing board situation, I think, for Elyria Catholic, who's got to just shake that heartbreak off and get back to it again this week. All right, I have kept you all waiting long enough. We have to now talk about the Midview Middies, who go on the road to Amherst this past week, beat the Comets 45-7. Both teams looking for their first win in that one, but of course it was Midview emerging victorious. The Middies put over 300 yards on the board. I think Coach Luke Beal would say, we caught up with him on the wrap-up show this past Saturday. He said, they finally put it all together. It was a complete, well-rounded game for the Middies. They've had all the pieces, struggled to put it together, and finally to see that come to fruition. It's a big confidence booster for this team who has a second half of the season of an SWC schedule, which is a grind. We talk about it every single week in every sport. The SWC schedule is a grind. So picking up that win was going to be important to build some momentum for this team, to propel them forward, hopefully string a couple more wins together, but at the very least, play some competitive football as we head to the second half of the season. And while we're at it, let's just get right into it. I had to give this week's Team of the Week to Midview. We got to reward our teams for picking up their first wins, and it was a big one for Midview. It was on the road, a conference opponent. They played well on offense, shut Amherst down. The defense played well too, so our Team of the Week is going to go to the Midview Middies. Looking ahead to this week, another really good slate of football coming at you. We're spoiled here in Lorain County. Well, we have good football all season, but another good week coming up on WEOL. You can hear Avon Lake traveling right here to Midview for another big SWC game. Of course, we mentioned Avon Lake coming off its first loss of the season. Gonna be coming out playing some tough, physical, maybe angry football. And Midview coming off its first win. They're gonna be amped up, excited to host arguably the area's best team right here at home. So you won't want to miss that one. You can catch that on the radio on WEOL, on Stream 1 on WEOL.com. Over on Stream 2, it is Wellington taking on Oberlin. You can hear that one on WEOL.com. And for our Medina County matchup, it is Parma taking on Buckeye. Of course, tune in to WEOL for all of your high school football action this coming Friday. Pick up your copy of the Telegram on Fridays for all of your preview content, our staff picks. Maybe I make a ridiculous pick and you all get to make fun of me. Wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened. And on Saturdays, the Blitz, we've got a whole high school football section, plus our regular sports section. You do not get that kind of coverage anywhere else. So be sure to pick up your copy of the Chronicle. Go to chroniclet.com. Tune in on Saturday mornings to the sports wrap-up show. You can hear my voice there. Every Saturday, we catch up with all of our winning and sometimes our losing coaches. It's good to get their perspective a lot of times too. We talk Browns, Ohio State, fantasy football sometimes. We do it all, so make sure you're tuning in. For Kristen Bauer and for all of us here at the Blitz, at WEOL, and the Chronicle Telegram, I am Marissa McNeese, and we will see you next time.